Alright, welcome to part 2 on our discussion of Baroque art in the north, Spain and Flanders, and we're going to be traveling to Flanders, so we're going to be up in this area. So, just to give you a little background information on Rubens, he was a master of color, dramatic compositions, and movement. Although he was from North Europe, he did travel to Italy and absorb the art of the Renaissance, of classical antiquity, and of course, the art of Caravaggio. He painted nearly every type of subject, landscapes, portraits, mythology, and history painting. Rubens was also said to be very good at multitasking. He was trained as a lawyer originally. He painted, he dictated letters, he had Latin read to him all the time, so he was quite an interesting artist. He was incredibly intelligent, and he also served as a diplomat. So what you're looking at, again, I'm sorry we couldn't go over French Baroque, we kind of skipped that, but there was an artist who was sort of the master of French Baroque, Poussin. And so what you're looking at is a slide comparing and contrasting Poussin and Rubens. These are two depictions of a scene, the rape of the Sabine women, and I usually invite a comparison. And with French Baroque, which is down here, this is Poussin down here, he was more of a diagonal artist, again, more of an outlining and sort of filling in with color, like many of the high Renaissance masters that we looked at. And here, this is Rubens' version, and I definitely think you can tell that he is much more of the colorito style, sort of that application of color and building up of color, softer brush strokes. So there, and it's good for you to know about Poussin, but I wish I could have talked about him a little bit more. So there you go. Diagonal, which would be Poussin, and then colorito, which is associated with Rubens. So please go back and make sure you understand these terms and you know exactly when we started talking about them, which was during the High Renaissance period. So please keep track of which time periods and regions associate themselves with these different techniques of painting. So here's a painting done by Rubens. It's entitled Raising of the Cross. Rubens made a trip to Italy, and he spends 8 years there, acquires a heavy absorption of looking at Italian art. And so he combines the stylistic features that he observes in Italy with northern style painting. So with this picture, he is incorporating the diagonal composition in this one, which is Italian, or at least mainland Italian, and it's a complex altarpiece. And remember, when we first started looking at northern art during the Renaissance period, they were very known for these really complex altar pieces and paintings that would fold out and unfold in different ways. And so this is a triptych. And then also surface detail and this idea of tenebrism. So, the surface detail is something that we observed with North Renaissance painting, early North Renaissance painting. And we see attention to detail with Italian Baroque painting. And then the use of tenebrism, this sort of dramatic light of, this sort of harsh contrast of light and dark. And so that's combining both Italian and North European art. Rubens was also a great admirer of Michelangelo, who wasn't. Note the heroic treatment of the figure of Christ. So, again, the very buffed body, lots of muscle articulation, very toned. So, this is very much influenced by Michelangelo. The composition is full of movement, and every figure, if you notice, is making contact with with the fire of Christ, or this crucifixion of Christ that's happening. So all these figures are in some way connected to him, or making some sort of physical contact with him. So this, does go back to what we talked about in general with the Baroque style, this idea of drama and tension, the use of diagonal, and this idea of movement. It's almost like you can feel the sort of sweeping motion of them about to lift Christ as he's being crucified. Also note the different textures that he incorporates in the painting. So this sort of juxtaposition of rough and smooth, so the smoothness of the skin and then the roughness of the foliage in the background. Also, the placement of light and shadow adds to the movement and action of the composition. So again, this is a very theatrical presentation. There's lots of movement and action that are very typical of the Baroque style. So this is the painting we're going to focus on, and this is the painting that you definitely need to know for the AP Art History test. This is Rubens, and this is the arrival of Maria de Medici at Marseille. And this is from a series of paintings that she had commissioned between 1621 and 25. So this is a canvas that is part of a 24 painting series of the life of Maria de Medici, commissioned by the Queen herself from Peter Paul Rubens in 1621, to adorn one of the two galleries in the Luxembourg Palace. Her newly built home in Paris, Luxembourg Palace, her newly built home in Paris. In both scale and subject matter, this cycle is unprecedented. Not only is it unique in its dedication to the major life events of a queen, not a king, the paintings are very large scale. So this is about 9 by 12 feet. So this is another painting. This is Henry IV receiving the portrait of Maria de Medici, and again, this is from the series. And I apologize, this is this is not the one you need to know, but it's part of the series. This is the arrival of Maria de Medici in Marseille, and this is the one that you do have to know, Henry IV receiving the portrait of Maria de Medici. And so this painting is commemorating her marriage to King Henry IV. Maria de Medici is portrayed as a young woman in a bejeweled dress with a stiff lace collar. So this is her portrait. And she has this gaze of confidence. She's sort of gazing confidently out of the frame. It's a bust-length portrait placed at the very center of a large canvas. And this was very typical during this period. And I believe they were married by proxy. I don't think they ever met each other. And so, during this time, marriages were arranged. Travel was very difficult. Also, they didn't have, pictures and, Snapchat, social media, so they could exchange pictures and see what each other looked like. So typically, when a marriage proposal or a marriage contract was being negotiated, a portrait would be painted of the lady for the king or whoever to look at and sort of make his decision. So we'll look at some more details. There's a lot of symbolism associated with this idea of love, maybe love and marriage.